Welcome to the 157th broadcast of the T-roh Show. It's your host, Keith. I got a few things I'd like to share with everybody, and we've got some uh, remedies for you as also. Now, what we're going to talk about today is, first of all, is somewhat of a disturbing, it's a very large thing that happened. It'll give you a different point of view of the United Nations and all the people you're dealing with. It was a report that was done, and I'll show you that report and explain a little bit of it, just so everybody gets the idea as to what it is. Okay. Now, this was this right here was a convention on the rights of the child. It's adopted and opened for signature, ratification, and accession by General Assembly. This is done in 1989. Its entry into force in 1990, in accordance with the Article 49. Sounds all, professional, right? The state parties to the present convention. What they didn't get was something that was extremely serious, considering that in accordance with the principles proclaimed in the Charter of the United Nations, recognition of the inherent dignity and the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. And when they talk about the human family, this is what the Pope tried to claim, that he was the father of all families. He tried to do that when he came to this country, and this was back in 2015, and he did it in Philadelphia. He tried to claim he was the father of all families, and we put a stop to that, by the way. We did that, or the government of the United States of America did that, and we were definitely directed by the Most High that did this through his son. So, bearing in mind that the peoples of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights and blah, blah, blah. See, they always put all this crap in the preambles. They don't really tell you what it's about. So the government of the United States of America adopted this. And when they adopted it, we were able to interpret it. And that's the way it works. So it says, for the purposes of the present convention, a child means every human being below the age of 18 years, unless under the law applicable to the child, majority is attained earlier. So I'll read that again. A child means every human being below the age of 18 years, unless under the law applicable to the child, majority is attained here, or is attained earlier. Majority is attained earlier. Age of majority is attained earlier, depending on the applicable law. Okay? It says, unless under the law applicable to the child, majority is attained here, earlier. Get it? So you can be, but they didn't put the age of majority. They just put majority is attained earlier. They didn't really define it. So it was a cunning way to hide that little statement. So they show you everything that's going on right in the front, in the first article. So we'll get over to this other doc. Okay. So when that was read, this report was put together. And this goes to the Committee of the National Assembly for the Government of the United States of America. It's a Convention on the Rights of the Child. And, of course, the very first article is read there. Okay. Majority is attained earlier. The age of 18 years, unless under law applicable to the child, majority is attained earlier. So that's not, I get what they're saying there, but it's not really what they're saying. So the family is an independent association that is associated by blood and not by contract, constitution, charter, political party, convention, or other legal relationship. Now, if you say, well, Johnny, I adopted Johnny and Johnny's my family or my son. Yeah, but that's by contract. That's not by blood. You can call them family all you want. It's just by contract. You contracted and you adopted them. So real family is not done. That's done by blood. Okay, that's just the way it works. It always has worked that way and always will work that way. No matter how much you try to change it or whatever, they're not really, what do most children do when they're adopted? They leave and they go find their original parents if their parents are still alive. They always do that. It always breaks the hearts of the adopted, mother and father and blah 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 blah. They put all those stories in television and everything. Then at the end, it's always, "Oh, you're my true son." Same crap, different day. All right. The Convention on the Rights of the Child attached to this report is trespass upon the family and its independence because the convention targeted the children that were not of legal age to contract. This means that the convention, even though it appears that the convention was for the child's benefit, seeks to recognize that a child under the age of 18 has the right to contract and therefore creates a legal impossibility unless the child is emancipated from the child's mother and father. Emancipation means to break ties contractually, become legally responsible under the age of 18. The legal impossibility is that the child is no longer under the privilege of the mother and father, as the convention seeks to control and define that independent blood relationship associated by blood and a family. So what they did was they came in and they said, "Here, I know that's your son, but I'm going to give your child rights." And the second they did that, the child was no longer a child. They have attained the age of 18, or emancipated from their parents. I'll state that again here in just a few minutes. It says, when a child suffers universal emancipation from their mother and father before the age of 18 internationally, the emancipation seeks to break up the family on paper, which has real-world consequences. Emancipation is cunningly disguised as the rights of the child, where in fact the child is now legally available for sex and other adult activities. Since the convention was passed, the sex trafficking and sex trade for underage children has exploded among the rich. The United Nations is fully responsible for this condition under arbitrary interference, thereby breaking up families worldwide. The international crime that is committed in plain sight is the Convention on the Rights of the Child, in fact, exists and breaks up families. That was what it was intended to do. This way, they could go in and say, "Okay, we're going to have story time with Tranny." Okay, Tranny story time. But they can't. Nobody can say anything because those children are emancipated. It's legal to do because those children are emancipated from their parents, even at the second of their first breath, under this convention. And they say, "Well, did the United States sign it?" Doesn't matter if they signed it. They're enforcing it. It says breaking up of families is a crime under the convention relative to the protection of civilian persons in time of war. This is under the Geneva Convention. And the Universal Declaration of Rights. No one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with his privacy, family, home, or correspondence, nor attacks upon his honor and reputation. Everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. So that's what they did. They came in, a third party came in and said, "Here, man, we're going to give your children rights instead of privileges of their parents." They did that. CPS can come and take them because they're emancipated legally and on paper. They're emancipated from their parents. They can go in and the schools are responsible for the children. They do that because they're emancipated. They can, if you'll look at all these different types of scenarios, if you start looking at it that way, a bunch of different scenarios will come to your mind as to why they can take them and they just can't get them back. They just take them. That's it. Well, they're not really trafficked because, and legally on paper, because they're of legal age of majority under that convention. Now the UN can come back and say, "Well, no, that's not what it reads. That's not what it is." Well, then why are you giving other people's children, which is none of your damn business, by the way, and why are you butting into everybody's privacy here when you know under the UDHR you can't do that, and that's a violation of law, violation of your own declarations. And what difference does it make? Why would you go in and give children rights? You can't do that crap. And ever since you did it, the sex trade and sex trafficking and crap has exploded, man. And it's worse here in America than it is anywhere else. That's a fact. Happens here more than anywhere else in the world. So the ones that lecture everybody else about human rights and all that crap and how wonderful they are, and they're supposed to be the light of the world. And that what Pelosi said the other day, she comes out, well, we're supposed to be the light and the leadership of the world. No, man, you're not even close, okay? And it has nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with your sorry ass and everybody else that's doing that BS, okay? It has to do with this. I mean, let's go to the reality here, okay? Because I've heard this same crap I don't know how many times, and I am so sick of listening to it, that we were supposed to be the light of the world and an example for everybody in the world. No one ever said that. No one ever claimed that. I think you're full of crap when you say it, and it's ridiculous to even entertain that kind of thinking, because no one asked for that. No one asked, oh, let's be the light of the world. You want to be the light of the world? Okay, great. Stop doing what you're doing. And I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Okay, now here we go. Listen carefully.
If you were a senator, Steve, and I gave you $10,000 cash, one or both of us is probably going to go to jail. But if I'm a corporate executive and you're a senator, and I give you IPO shares in stock, and over the course of one day, that stock nets you $100,000, that's completely legal.
And former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband had participated in at least 8 IPOs. One of those came in 2008 from Visa, just as a troublesome piece of legislation that would have hurt credit card companies began making its way through the House. Undisturbed by...
Notice they didn't really say much about what it was, but if you go check, it's probably all their collections practices. They were trying to steal a bunch of stuff, and they were stopping that with the legislation.
By a potential conflict of interest, the Pelosi's purchased 5,000 shares of Visa at the initial price of $44. 2 days later, it was trading at $64. The credit card legislation never made it to the floor of the House.
Boom, never made it to the floor of the House. Oh, Pelosi, you're such the light of the world and the example for all other countries of how wonderful you are. And this country is the light and shall shine upon all other countries and world leaders and all that to follow your lead. Follow your lead, Pelosi.
Congresswoman Pelosi also declined our request for an interview, but agreed to call on us if we attended a news conference.
Madam Leader, I wanted to ask you why you and your husband, back in March of 2008, accepted and participated in a very large IPO deal from Visa. At a time there was major legislation affecting the credit card companies making its way through the House. And did you consider that to be a conflict of interest?
I don't know what your point is of your question. Is there some point that you want to make with?
Yeah, you dumb bitch. It's called ethics. In other words, a credit card companies came in and paid your ass off. That's what happened there, Miss Pelosi. They paid you to keep that legislation that was coming against them off the rolls. So you, little lady, are a crook, bigger than shit. You're a thief. You're unethical. And yeah, that's the point. In other words, she doesn't see it that way. Whatever, however she sees things.
Corporate executives, members of the executive branch, and all federal judges are subject to strict conflict of interest rules, but not the people who write the laws.
If you are a member of Congress and you sit on the Defense Committee, You are free to trade defense stock as much as you want to. If you're on the Senate Banking Committee, you can trade bank stock as much as you want, and that regularly goes on in all these committees.
Now, what I tell you, folks, I've been talking about that since 1996, and finally they came out with it on 60 Minutes. Been talking about it since 1996. Everybody thought I was crazy, or I didn't really even say anything about it, but that's what they did. So, been talking about that for a very long time. Okay, got a couple other things we want to cover as far as that stuff's concerned. One of it was, we'll get to this in just a second, but I wanted to tell you that there's a lady that we know, very, very respectable lady, that's taught her son how to speak to CPS. And when she did, okay, her son doesn't get messed with, and she doesn't get messed with. They tried to take her son last week, actually about 2-3 days ago. They called her and told him, called her and said, "Come get your son. Just come get your son." They were sick of talking to him, and all she did was tell him this, okay. And you want to keep CPS out of your life, real quick? All you do is this. Every question they asked him, "I cannot answer your question unless my mother is present." It has to be voluntary, right? "I cannot answer the question unless my mother is present. One or more of my parents or mother and father are present." That's all he's got to do. Every question, doesn't matter what the question is. If they ask him what his name is, "I cannot speak to you or talk to you or answer any of your questions without my mother or father present." Whatever the case may be. Over and over and over again. After 10 hours of that, they were done with him. All right, get out of here. Come get your son. Okay, the reason why that worked is because he did not accept the emancipation that was offered by the United Nations. So therefore, he was still his mother's son. That's why it worked. So whenever they say, "I cannot answer any questions," if he would have started talking to them without his mother present, he would have accepted the emancipation that the United Nations was offering him, and therefore he had all the legal rights and everything. He would not have. They could have taken him away, institutionalized him, which is what they're doing to the children once they get them from their parents, and then they go into traffic them, throw them into foster parents. You know, they're not foster parents because they have their legal rights. That's called trafficking. So cunning disguise. It really is, if you think about it. Now, just wanted to cover this. This was funny. A newly elected Muslim Democrat state lawmaker charged with stealing more than $500,000 will resign, faces jail time. Okay. By the way, real Muslims can't hold public office. Just so everybody knows. Under the Hadith and Sharia law, she shouldn't even be outside without her brother or her husband. Otherwise, her ass is stuck at home. This is not a real Muslim. Now, I'm not saying that, that Muslims don't steal. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that this whole thing is a get up. This is a way to get privileges and crap like that. Because where's her carpet? Why isn't she praying 5 times a day? There's no such thing as a moderate Muslim. They all have to pray 5 times a day, facing Mecca. So this whole thing of she's a Democrat Muslima state representative. This is all just a bunch of crap. Real Muslims, okay, can't protest. Women Muslims, real Muslims, don't protest. They can't. They can't. So it's illegal for them to do it. They can get beat or their head chopped off for that crap, or thrown in jail for many, many years for just doing that. There was one over in Argentina. I have a video on the Rain Bulletin on that one and the t-roh show. where her friend, she came out of Pakistan. I don't know if I think I said Argentina. I meant Pakistan. Um, and her friend did a dance, fully clothed, on and recorded it with her phone and put it on Instagram. She was in jail. She ended up getting killed later. That's real Muslim women. That's what happens to them. They get beat constantly. Okay. Does this woman look like she's been beat lately? Or anything of that nature? She is out of the home without an escort. She has to be escorted by her father or her husband or brother. She can't be out the side alone. So when you see this, it's a joke. She's not a Muslim. She's a joke. Okay, and I'll go up against her anytime. She was the same one who prayed. It says, recall Mavita Johnson Harrell was just elected in March this year in a special election when she attacked a Christian state lawmaker who prayed to Jesus during her swearing-in ceremony as blatantly Islamophobic. Well, just come to find out that she's the biggest crook there are. She says her theft knew no bounds, Shapiro said, as he announced that his office had charged the first-term lawmaker with theft, perjury, tampering with public records, related crimes Wednesday morning. Okay, she's going to town, man. she stole 500 grand from her own nonprofit to pay for vacations, furs, designer clothes, bills, and her run for state legislature. So not a real. There's not a real one. Okay. Now we've got some other stuff. I give a lot of cops a lot of crap. Okay, on this show, on the t-roh show, and our numbers have gone way up. We went from 2.5 million per week to 6 million ever since I've been really, going with all the publications and things like that. Now, I do personally, I give a lot of cops a lot of crap, okay, for the basic stupid things they do. But I want to show you the difference, okay? And once we understand the difference, then you'll understand why I give cops a lot of crap. Just want to explain that to everybody so they don't say, oh, you're just anti-cop. We're not anti-cop or anti-police at all. We have our own police within our own government. We're not anti-government, anti-this or anti-that. Anything like that, okay? I just don't like really bad cops. Now, these guys, okay, this is what we said in here. It says dissolve the police unions and FOP. Okay, number one, the Fraternal Order of Police is illegal. I'm going to tell you why. Police officers are supposed to have an oath to the state constitution. Okay, they're supposed to have an oath of office. Their allegiance is supposed to be to the state. Well, FOP requires allegiance to that association. First and foremost, that's why it's illegal. Their first and foremost allegiance is to a private organization run by private people that you don't know what's going on, unelected people and all that. So the Fraternal Order of Police needs to be dissolved, regardless. There's really no reason for it to be there. It's illegal anyways. It is time for a change because any confrontation with police today can mean you die, and it does not matter who you are or where you come from. It says the trust is gone. Now, I've seen this, okay? I've even been in restaurants when police walk in, you'll see, everybody just shuts up. And just in restaurants, everybody's quiet. Everybody gets real quiet and start hearing whispering. And then people just start, check please, and want to get up. They want to get out of there. They get up and leave. 2 cops walk into a freaking restaurant right now, and they lose all their customers. People leave. Now, that's not because they're evil. What that is because they're commie cops. They just don't realize it. I'm going to show you the difference in a minute. They're communists. People don't trust them. The trust is gone. Because, okay, guys, let's put it this way. You could do 50 great things And I mean really cool things for people, just the nicest things you could ever imagine for people. Then you do one thing that causes a murder or something like that, that just ruins all the good stuff you did. In other words, people aren't going to remember all the good things you did. You just ruined your own public relations by doing something stupid. I mean, we saw a video the other day. This woman, she's walking up to this guy in a house. I don't want to play the whole thing for you, but and he's a little messed up in the head. He says, don't touch me. He doesn't want anybody touching him because he was sexually molested when he was a child. So he's a little kind of screwed up. He's older. He's living with his mother. So we know this guy's a little messed up. All right. So, and I'm not going to play this video to piss you guys off. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you what this video, just tell you what the video is about. So he comes in and the woman cop really screwed up because she entered the home. She had no right to enter the home. She goes, all right, now what I'm going to do is he's on his front porch, right? He's trying to find out what's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read your Miranda rights and all this other kind of shit. So he just says, no, don't want to talk to you, turns around and walks away. Well, he had every right to do that. She didn't have a warrant. She was trying to do an investigation, and he had the right under the Miranda rights to shut the hell up. So he did. He left. Now, she, for some reason, takes some kind of offense to him leaving and exercising his rights to not talk to her. And she didn't have probable cause to enter the home. So what does dipshit do? She walks right into the home. And after all is said and done, and after she escalated the whole thing, she shot the mother. Accidentally shot the mother because she's arguing and wrestling with this guy. And this guy is telling her, keep your hands off me, which he had the right to do. She didn't have a warrant. She wasn't even supposed to get into the house, but she does anyways. Then another guy comes walking in about 5 minutes later, kicks the guy in the head, freaking knocks him out, and the mother's shot. Good one, guys. Good one. That's a thumbs up. That's real good police work. Those are called when you have the village retard training the village retards. Okay? And I don't like those kind of people. They're stupid. They're too stupid to do what they're doing. Okay? Because they haven't figured that out. Wait a minute. Yeah, this guy just basically, I was going to read him the Miranda rights. He didn't, he actually exercised his rights that were in there, so I can't really do anything. You know what it was about, folks? The guy was kind of messed up in the head, So he was down at this mall thing and he shoplifted. He shoplifted something. I think, I don't even think it was that big of a deal. $20-$30 or something like that. That's what all it was. So shoplifting means let's knock you out and mess you up for the rest of your life, and shoot your mother. Good one, lady. Real smart cop, okay, that does that. And this is what I look at as people that are stupid. They're stupid because they're communists. Communists don't think. Because I could put hands on you. She went right to power. I could put hands on you if I want to. I have the right to put hands on you. No, you don't, lady. You don't have a warrant. Go away. They don't have any boundaries. Okay? The same with this guy here. This guy, here's Dallas police. Of course, more Texas guys, right? Real smart ones. I always put the thumbs up for Texas guys. And and you know what I think about them? Because I think I called one of them a village retard about 60 times in a couple of broadcasts ago. And so what do? This guy's schizophrenic. He calls for help. He's in the park, and I think he's a little bit lost. And he's trying to get some help. So he calls these cops. Cops show up. 5 minutes later, he's dead. Because the cops were shoving his face in the ground. He literally called and said, I don't have my medicine. I'm freaking out and I don't have my medicine. So what do? Any normal human being would de-escalate that problem. Just the same as this other lady that was trying to find a shoplifter would de-escalate that problem. Because if I were that lady that did that, okay, I would have let the son go into that. No, don't leave me alone. I was sexually abused. I can't be touched and all this other stuff, right? He's going to fight you off. So you're just causing him to fight you off. So I would have talked to the mother, since the mother, I'm going back to the other story. Since the mother was cradling the guy, saying, trying to protect them from this cop that just busted in their freaking house. If I were that cop, I would have said, "Ma'am, I have good reason to believe your son shoplifted. It was this item here. If you can just either give me some cash or write a check, I'll go down to the store and see if I can get them to drop charges. And maybe it just be that your son is not allowed in the store anymore." It's real simple. The guy went upstairs, because he was trying to get away from her because he didn't like being touched, because he's messed up in the head a little bit. And that would have de-escalated the problem. Not pull your gun out and shoot the mother. Okay, this is why I say retarded. Now we got these guys, and that would have been, okay, approach the man, but back way off. Just back way off of him, because he's freaking out. In his mind, your head's doing all kinds of weird crap. If you've ever seen somebody that's schizophrenic, your head's turning back. You're seeing all kinds of stuff. And all you got to do is talk to the man and say, "Look, you're probably seeing that weird stuff on us, but we're not really doing anything. We're just standing here and we're trying to make sure you don't hurt yourself." Okay? Until we can get somebody that's trained to be able to talk to you, and, get a doctor on the phone. Tell him this or tell him that. Schizophrenic doctor or whatever you got to do if the guy gets a little weird. But the guy even said, "I haven't had my medicine." Okay, well, I'll tell you what. He calls in. This is communist thinking, by the way. He calls in, and he calls the commie police. I call them commie cops. Okay, CC's commie cops, and they go down, and their thinking is, well, let's just go ahead and murder the guy. Okay, great idea. And every commie cop I've talked or I've ever watched or whatever, you can tell them they think of people as pieces of shit, and that's what they call them. Let's get this piece of shit. Was that one guy? We want to kill that motherfucker. Do I just shoot this motherfucker? They treat him like their stuff, like their property. They always do. They do the same thing here. They treat the guy like he's property. They do the whole thing like that. It's the same crap. That's called a commie cop. Okay, so I hope that actually spreads around, that term, commie cop. So cops like this get the idea. You're a commie cop. Nobody really likes you. Okay, so go away. And we really would hope that you'd quit. So I'm going to show you the difference between a commie cop and a good cop. And then this will be the last part of this program. Okay, folks. Now, a commie cop has what I call military rank on their uniform. See this woman right here? Okay, she's not in the military. She doesn't need to have sergeant stripes on her uniform. She's not in the military. That's a commie cop. Okay, commie cops have military rank on their shoulder, because this guy is not a 4-star general. He's not in the military. That's you can't really express that enough. That, oh, you have to talk to the lieutenant. What do you mean I'm going to talk to a lieutenant? You're not in the freaking military. And if that's the case, you're a foreign military. If you're a military here, you have military rank on your uniform, and you're not either Continental Army or U.S. military, you're foreigner. You're a foreign military. But, like I said, commie cops don't understand that. They don't understand the law. They don't get that. All right? Same thing with this woman. Here's 2-star general. Sorry, lady, you're not a general. Okay? So everybody needs to understand, whenever you see any kind of military rank, you're dealing with commie cops. The best thing to do is shut the hell up. Because commie cops are not real bright, and they get offended easily. And when they get offended easily, they go right to power because they don't understand anything else. So you got to be real careful around them. What you say, what you do, and everything else. Don't get nasty and belligerent with them, because they'll kill you. They'll murder your ass. Because that's what commie cops do. Okay? Now, real cops Real cops are like this here. Let me make sure that you're going to see this. I'm going to take this down and share it again. This is a real police officer.
Yeah. How's it going, sir?
I'm all right. How are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
I haven't seen you since 9/11. This is what I call dedication to the cause.
Now, do you see any military rank on this guy? Nothing. Nothing, man. Okay? There's no military rank on this guy. And guess what? Look at this guy's smiling. This guy's shaking hands. And listen to what they say.
Out here in the rain. Hell yes. Very good. Very good. How you doing, sir?
Now, he didn't walk up, need your ID. Give me your ID. That's a commie cop. I want to see your ID. I want to see your identification to make sure that you're a member of the Communist Party. So let me see your driver's license. Comrades, that's a commie. He didn't ask for any of that. These guys can't wait to shake his hand, and they all offer their names. They love him. Okay? I would take a bullet for that guy. Me personally. Because guess what? That's a real cop. That's a real police officer. He's not a constitutional sheriff. He's just a real police officer. He understands what his job is. Listen to what he says. All of them, man. All of them are shaking hands. This guy's got a freaking AK-47 on him. Or it's AR-15. I can't tell which right now. He's got an AR-15. Do you see? Okay, commie cops are kind of wussies. All right, they get scared easily. So you got to be real careful around them because when they get scared, they go to power. And then they try to kill you. And then they hide it. And that's called commie corruption. All right? But this guy doesn't even watch what he does.
Right on.
Buell. I'm Nick.
Nick,
Nice to meet you.
Right on. So you guys are dedicated.
Oh, yeah.
You got Ron Paul signs down there too?
Yeah, we need some.
We need about Rand Paul.
Oh, he's awesome.
Now, do you think that's going to be name recognition thing, Floyd?
I would love to. See, I'd love to see it. If Republicans can quit bickering amongst each other and, pick a good candidate, and I honestly think the nation is finally ready.
I like how Rand Paul kind of is a mixture of I guess republicanism and like the Ron Paul libertarianism.
Now keep in mind this was 2013, so it's 6 years ago.
He's got a good mix of both.
Something's got it, bro.
Oh yeah.
You guys know the history of Yeah, exactly. You guys are out here scaring people, so if people call, I gotta come.
Yeah.
You guys are exercising your freedom of speech, your Second Amendment rights, and that's.
Okay, he just says there. He says, "Now let's interpret that." A bunch of commie pinkos had called me and tried to get you guys busted. They wanted to put their commie cops on you, so I have to come out here. I gotta say something. I'm gonna go home because they're commie pinkos that are calling on you. That's what he's doing.
It's all good. Yeah. You guys members of like the NRA or anything like that?
NRA.
I'm not a member of anything.
Right now, well, you're an American citizen.
Yeah, both.
So that's pretty cool.
That works for me.
That's kind of the coolest. Yeah.
This particular guy didn't say U.S. citizen. He said American, by the way. Even though the guy technically isn't, but
I'm out to catch bad guys, not not people that are exercising their constitutional rights.
Fantastic.
There you go. Because hoorah! So, you know what I'm saying? Look at that, all these supporters. That's great. It's you got to look at it like this too. Is that if you have a can of gas in one hand and a lighter in the other, that's going to scare some folks.
Yeah.
And that's what a gun's going to do to a lot of the uneducated.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew up in a family of hunters and things like that. So a firearm to me was like, a hammer or a screwdriver.
Yeah, a tool.
It's a tool or, it's something recreational.
Gotcha.
I don't go out and recreate with my chainsaw. Some guys might think that's fun. But, it's a tool.
So what is he doing? He's educating them. They all love the guy. They're all laughing. and they'll remember that for the rest of their life. And every time, if ever comes to mind that that's a real Romans 13 officer right there. Romans 13. That's the real deal. All those guys are laughing. They're being taught something. This is going to affect them for the rest of their lives. Every time they think about committing a crime, they will think of that guy, and they will change their minds. They'll think of what he did. No one has any idea how much influence that man right there that you're seeing in that video has on those boys and what he's doing. He probably doesn't even realize that they're going to remember that for the rest of their life. They're going to tell that story for years. That's how much influence and how much power the police have. They just don't realize it. If all the police were like that guy right there that you're staring at, and I stopped it right on his uniform, so you see that there's no banker, military crap, military industrial complex uniform on. If you see some of the chiefs of police, they look like emperor of the freaking universe. They got so many freaking stars and crap on their uniform. So you don't need all that. That right there, this right here commands respect. That's right. That's right. And I'd shake that man's hand, and if he needed any help whatsoever, I'd be there in a heartbeat. Whatever you need. He wasn't looking for what do you call it? Commie membership card. We call driver's licenses. If you don't know what we're talking about, go listen to 154, 155, 156. All right? Of the t-roh show. I'll tell you what the old commie membership card is. It's called a driver's license. Okay? And he's talking about, constitutional rights, but he's actually just talking about basic human rights too. I mean, that's what he's stating. Now, I'm not pushing the whole constitutional thing because I know the whole history of the Constitution and what happened there. I'm pushing the fact that this guy recognizes that other people are people and not just pieces of shit like I hear out of these guys' mouths all the time. Or, you want me to kill this motherfucker? That's what they're saying. Okay? You will never hear that out of this man's mouth. He's a real man and a real cop. And he's out there getting bad guys. And if bad guys mess with him, they're gonna have to mess with a lot of other people. So hopefully that tells you and makes everybody understand that I am not anti-police at all. I'm anti-commie cop. Okay? ID refusals and confrontations. Okay? This is what you got over here. ID refusals. You see? All those guys told him his name, just voluntarily gave him the name. They didn't have to have IDs. But Mr. Commie Cop down here has to have it. Mr. CC Commie Cop, he's got to have the ID. And then he's going to play the whole thing. Well, you've offended the state and you've offended me, so now I got to take you to jail. And we got to make some more money on your ass. And fleece the taxpayers a little bit more. But that's what they're doing. They're fleecing taxpayers. So keep that in mind, folks. It's all a matter of choice. What kind of future do you want in this country? You want this guy here, or do you want Commie Cop? The choice is yours, and it's a matter of how you act. It's not the political decision you make or the vote you make. It's how you act. Because you can have a total dictator in office. If nobody believes in dictatorships, they're not going to listen to the asshole. He's got no power unless people listen to him. Unless you're believing in a dictatorial or totalitarian party. If you think that way, you're going to follow him. If not, then you're not going to listen to him. You're going to make fun of him and all that fun stuff like they do China, calling the leader of China Pooh Bear because they think he looks like the Pooh Bear. He hates it, by the way. Okay? So hopefully everybody learned something today. Do appreciate all the hits on the t-roh show, and people spend at least an hour out of their week to listen to us. We really do appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to the 157th broadcast of the t-roh show. We'll see you on 158.